Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On a rare Friday night, it is the three of us once again, the three amigos, los tres amigos. This is Miami Total Football Radio, the show, aka Miami Total Football Radio, the show. Jose is smiling because I got it off perfectly without any stuttering or issues there. So as you can see, and if you can't hear, well, I'm Franco Panizo, one of the co-hosts of this lovely podcast slash live stream. And we have Jose Armando and Andrea Yanis in the house today. A rare Friday night for us. Instead of me being out at Perro Negro, I'm here with you guys doing a show because we've got some Inter Miami stuff to talk about. By the way, I have to go in on them. Two-footed slide tackle on both of my Honduran co-hosts. Neither one of them
because we don't know who Perro Negro is.
Neither one of them knew the song Perro Negro. And I know we've already had some musical debates as of late on this show, but I can't believe you guys have not heard the song Perro Negro. Bad Bunny and Fade, come on, man. It's one of
Something tells me I need to be proud about that. Something tells me. I'm not 100% sure.
It was playing at the training facility today, and then the topic of conversation came up because obviously the players were listening to it, and it came up, and Jose, nor Andrea, I'm shocked about Andrea. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have put past him not knowing the song, but Andrea, I'm surprised by that one on your part.
Jose me contagió.
Jose is definitely rubbing off on you in all the wrong ways, man. All the wrong ways. When it comes to music, Island Jose is no longer on an island by himself. He's got company. Well, first off, how are you guys doing? I know it's been a long week for us. Not over yet, but how are you guys doing? Start with Andreita.
Well, a little tired, but good. It's good to be back to football since we've had so much work with other stuff, but it's always good to be back. Can't wait to talk about the game. I'm tired because today we had to wake up like at 5 a.m. to get to a training facility. And as you guys saw through our social media, they had an asado and we had to be just velando. I don't know how to say velando in English. So we were begging. Begging for food and we didn't get any. So that's how my Friday is going. But all good.
But you don't even like meat. You don't even like meat, especially early in the morning.
From places that I don't know, that I don't trust. But I like
it. She trusts Inter Miami. That's what she's saying. She trusts Inter Miami.
I trust Messi's money. Messi's money. I know that no one is trying to poison Lionel Messi. I trust it.
I don't know who those guys were that were cooking it because they were wearing some other color in the gear. I don't know who they were, but well, you know what? Since you already went into it, Jose, we're not even going to get to how you're doing. We're just going to get to some footage of the practice asado that was there today. Let's look at some of the. There you go. Obviously, if you're listening, then you're not going to see it, but trust me, it was some fine culinary asado, some practice asado being done there in front of behind the training facility next to the practice fields where Inter Miami trains, the first team trains. But apparently this was for the second team. So it was being prepared. There was raw meat, there's peppers, giant, I don't know what you call it.
It smells so good. I was just like velando, literally. When at first we saw the meat, but when they began cooking it and it smelled, the pepper smelled and everything smelled so nice. I was so hungry that even when we got out, I have to reveal, since we were traveling back to Miami, we got out there like at 10. So to get to Miami is 1 hour, 50 minutes. When we got to Miami, we decided to go for meat. But it wasn't as good as that. Our meat was like a carbon, horrible. Oh, yes. And it was horrible because I don't know what happened to the restaurant, but it was horrible. But that meat on the Inter Miami training looked good. Whoever ate it,
really good.
Whoever ate it, I guess they enjoyed it because it looked really nice.
Yeah, it was solid. I think, from what I heard, this is actually the second time those guys are in the facility because the first one it was obviously for the first team. So I thought that was really nice. I thought that was really, really nice. That obviously this is related to Messi. We haven't seen that before. Nowhere something near to that in the training facility, especially that early in the morning. So, but it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I actually
doing the digging, doing the reporting on the asado. If you need your breaking news on asado at Inter Miami training facility,
don't ask me about players, but ask me about the food. Ask me about asado. Then I'm interested in asking questions.
Jose does his best reporting skills to date. By the way, Jose got a great video, which I can't share because it's under the media company Jose works for. But he got a great video of the asado.
You can share it. You can share it.
Well, I don't have it now. I didn't know if I was capable of sharing it, so I didn't prepare it. But
you
if you want to, you can go to Jose's Twitter handle. You can go to Deportes Total USA, in English, Deportes Total USA, and you can see the video of the asado with Tata Martino walking by and in Spanish saying, "I'm going to steal some of that later on."
Yeah.
So a pretty funny moment that Jose caught at practice today. But anyway, all right, let's talk less about steak and about Perro Negro, and let's talk about some Inter Miami football. And Jose, I skipped over how you're doing, but clearly you're doing fine.
Yes.
So, all right, let's.
My reporting is on point to start the show.
Happy, healthy, and alive.
Clearly. So let's start with the most recent news. We touched on it a bit in the last few pods, but Federico Redondo is official. He's officially a member of Inter Miami. He has signed through 2027 with an option for 2028. Is that correct? Yes. All right.
Correct.
So young Argentine midfielder with a famous dad. So he comes to Inter Miami to help bolster that midfield. I may have overheard someone saying that they plan to play him in that right midfield spot next to Busquets, the one that Julian Gressel occupied in the season opener. So longer term,
yeah, for Julian Gressel, man, he's gonna go back to being a right back.
Yeah, that's. I think it's better for him. We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. But anyway, Federico Redondo officially a member of Inter Miami. Jose, I mean, obviously don't expect him to play this weekend, but how soon do you think we could see him? We didn't get to ask about the questions about Federico Redondo to Tata Martino today because the announcement came afterwards. Tata Martino was very coy during the availability. He said, "Oh, there's nothing new. We don't know anything yet." But obviously, he knew the signing.
He knew. They just waited that we left and they announced him.
Well, exactly. I think from what we heard from Tata this morning when he talked about Julian Gressel, that from Julian Gressel.
He did the opposite of my radio.
I was thinking about Federico already. So when he talked about Gressel, he basically put him out there as the link between Busi and Messi.
Messi, right?
Which to me was really interesting because I think Gressel struggles in that position, but Tata really, really rates him in the middle of the field. And now with Federico coming in, Federico Redondo, I think Redondo will play. Once he's ready to go, he will be a starter for this.
How long is it going to take him to get ready? What do you think?
Not much. I think a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think maybe we could see him playing in the Champions League already, taking part in that game after getting his visa. I
wouldn't be surprised.
And it could be Orlando next week because he's ready. He's just played the eliminatoria for the Olympics in South America, where after doing a bad job on the under-20s, Mascherano, and Federico Redondo and their team made it to the Olympics. So with him being an important player. So I think this is good for Inter Miami.
It's trouble for Mota.
How good it is for him because, such a young promise to come to this league. It's still, this is not a league to develop yourself as much as in Europe. But for him, let's see how it goes. But for Inter Miami, it's a good deal. He gets media attention. He's the son of a famous player. Everyone is expecting him to be a good teammate. Who is his
father, Andrea? Share to the people who might not know. Who is his father?
Well, his father, for people who don't know, played for Real Madrid, played for Inter de Milan.
Andrea's favorite team.
Yes, that's why she started with Real Madrid, of course.
Big
national team player. I really like him. I think Redondo for me was just amazing. A great player to watch.
You didn't even say his first name, Jose. Give us a first name.
Fernando Redondo.
So
Yeah, it's a big get for Inter Miami. But listen, for other players in the team, I don't know what this spells because, as I was saying, Mota and other players that are a stacked midfield. And for me, it's interesting to see because Tata made a
They
point
have way too
today
many
when
midfielders.
he said, "Oh, Benjamin Kremaski, David Ruiz, and Jan, and no Allen," as he said, right? So I think even though those players have the same age of Federico Redondo, he rates Federico Redondo better than them. So with Federico
Well,
coming in,
he's right about that.
those players are gonna see less and less minutes, right?
Well, let's
So
talk about what Jose said there because he said a few minutes ago. Obviously, Busquets to Messi, that connection is well known, and it's effective when it can happen. But as we've seen, we saw last year when you started analyzing the games in more detail, opponents were doing a very good job of blanketing Busquets' pass forward to Messi. Right? They adapted. They didn't make it easy on Inter Miami, and then Inter Miami had to find other ways to build up through the lines and try to get the ball to Messi so he could create his magic. And they struggled with that. Now, Julian Gressel's being seen as maybe a stopgap solution there, excuse me. But with Redondo coming in, it seems like he'll take that spot and it'll be Busquets to Redondo to Messi. It seems like that's going to be the trident in terms of the build-up through the midfield and up into the more attacking third. Let's hear some thoughts from, I won't say a special guest. He's always a special guest, but I have a surprise for everybody here. A little tardy to the party on Friday, but there he goes. Wait, I have to change the screen now. I mistimed that, but as you can see, it's Simon Evans. It's Simon Evans in the house. There we go. El Mago, El Brujo. I don't know what I forgot what your nickname was.
We never got one. We never got around to one. No.
Someone in the comment section gave you a good one, but I can't remember what it was. Simon, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, how are you doing, guys?
Good, man. Good to see you. It's been a while since all four of us have been together. So nice on a little Friday night action, a little Friday night Miami.
Just finished covering the Mexico Open PGA event. So
JJ Rocks Cortez says desde Las Vegas. I don't think Simon's coming from Las Vegas. I think JJ Rocks Cortez is coming from Las Vegas. But if you are coming from Las Vegas, kudos to you, Simon.
No, JJ can go and watch Edison Ascona now. If he loves Inter Miami, he could go support Edison.
Maybe it's Edison Ascona on the low. Just kidding. All right. So Simon, do you agree with us? Is this what we're gonna see? Redondo slip into the starting lineup in a matter of a couple of weeks and be that link to help build up the lines and build up through the attack for Inter Miami.
Yeah, and also give a little bit more protection to that back line as well. I think I mean he's a defensive midfielder. I mean I haven't seen enough of him not to have his father in my head when I'm starting to picture him in the team. I saw his dad play quite a lot when I was in Italy. He actually ended his career at AC Milan, didn't play much. He had a lot of injuries at the end of his career, but I saw him play against Italian teams when the Italian teams were really strong, when he was playing for Real Madrid, in a pretty good Real Madrid team as well. I think just before the Real Galacticos era, although he did play a little bit in that time as well. Classy player, his dad was. Really classy player. One of those players who could just keep control of the ball and protect it and dictate the tempo of the game. So if he's got half of what his dad had, he'll be a fantastic addition to this team. But yeah, I think you were saying, probably that Gressel slot, that makes sense, I think. And Gressel is, regardless of other thoughts, I think he is more effective as a right wing back, if you like, an attacking right back. So it goes back to, I remember one of those podcast not so long ago where Franco was sort of saying that Yedlin's on the way out. I think Gressel moves into that slot that Yedlin played.
Absolutely, and we can dive into that, right? Because if Redondo goes into that midfield spot that Gressel's been playing in preseason, and now at the start of the season or in the season opener, then where does he fit? I agree with you. I think all four of us agree. He then becomes the first choice option at right back, and I like how Simon phrased it. Simon's like, regardless of other thoughts, which to me, I'm like reading that as Tata Martino. Tata Martino has raved about Julian Gressel in the midfield and how he's got a clean foot and he can pass. Now, obviously, in the season opener, you didn't see that. You didn't see a whole lot of that from Julian Gressel. He seemed to be
Julian's going to play. I mean, Gressel's going to play.
But the thing is that Tata right now, he says Gressel is the better in midfield. Then he said no, Allen was a center back. So I think Tata is just trying to put players that he has available in a position because, well, we know Julian Gressel is not, he can play there, but that's not his position. And we know Noah Allen is not a center back. So,
well, we're going to get to the Noah Allen thing later. But look at this. We've got a comment from LA Galaxy, the best club in the world, in the comment section. That is the name of the person commenting. And it says, Miami are trash. All right. Inter Miami fans have at it there. Go have fun.
People talking. That is how you build this. That is how you build. People talking trash about each other's team. When you do it respectfully, it's fun. It's fun because that is what it is. That is why people watch us, and that is why people want to argue in a respectful manner. Then it's fun, and that is what every fan base in MLS thinks about Inter Miami right now.
Now, Jose. All right, so Julian Gressel plays at right back. That means DeAndre Yedlin goes to the bench, correct?
Yes.
All right, and I mean, I agree with you guys. Like, I think Julian Gressel's strengths are out wide, where he can whip in crosses. Like, he whips in those lethal.
He'll play better defense and better. He'll bring better crosses in, and that's really all he needs to do. Like, you don't want more from him. It's just, I think, especially he needs to be careful as Jordi Alba moves forward. Maybe stay back a little bit. You don't need him to score goals.
But he provides a threat from there. He provides a threat. Listen, the other projects forward very well. He's got pace and all that.
He did good on the game on Wednesday, I think.
But he's not the most technical guy. And his crosses are not the most pinpoint. Yeah. I think Julian Gressel gives you an upgrade in that sense. And with the way that this team wants to play, what they want to have, technical players, ball on the ground, combinations, possession. I think Julian Gressel fits better there. I agree with Jose. Maybe he'll stay back a little bit more compared to Jordi Alba, but also give Inter Miami that dimension of giving them a threat down the right side, where DeAndre Yedlin isn't that much of an attacking threat, despite his ability to get forward into the attack from that front.
Yeah, and one more thing that I would like to add is that I feel like there's a clear role now for the young players, and Tata kind of gave us a preview of that this week when he said, I don't want to. I asked him about David, but he talked about the entire group of young players. He said, I don't want to expose them. He wants to take care of them a little bit more, which means you guys are not going to be playing as much, especially because he rates some of the other young players in the liking of Gomez and Redondo as at a higher level, right, or better prepared than Ruiz and probably Benja. And the odd man out here for me is Mota. I mean, what's the scenario for Mota this year? Even in the game against Real Salt Lake, Mota, if I'm not mistaken, he came on after the young players, after Ruiz. So I feel like Gregory got the best part of it because he was able to understand and figure the way out of Miami, because that was the best thing for him. But Mota, since he's left in here, and what's the role for him in this team? I mean, he's gonna depend on injuries to have a bigger impact.
There's gonna be so many games that he'll play if he sticks around. Now,
but if you're John Mota, you're not happy playing 10 games, 15 games.
Oh, I mean, if you're, I agree with that. But that might be his role.
With such a young team,
I think it'll depend. I think it'll depend on who's available, what the situation is. Right? He's a bit more technical and attack minded than Ben Jacaremaski, than David Ruiz. So I think it'll just depend on the situation. But anyway, all right. So you guys are already diving into it. Jose already dove into it. Let's look back before we look forward. Inter Miami played its season opener on Wednesday night at Chase Stadium. It was renamed from the last pod that we did. It's no longer Drive Bank Stadium. It's now Chase Stadium, new corporate sponsor, which brings with it a lot of perks and some good food. But nonetheless,
food was amazing.
There you go. Jose again with the food review.
With the food. Yeah,
food critic Jose. Yeah, no more Island Jose. No more. What's it called? What were we calling you? Broadcasting rights Jose. We called you.
Rights holder Jose.
Rights holder Jose. Now you are Cinco. Cinco. Now you're food critic Jose.
No, the food was amazing. It was great. It was great. Best
I don't
part of
know
the
how
season so
much
far.
it cost when you eat it in the stadium, but
Yeah,
it was good.
burgers and
Taco.
arepas. Probably that they should be $6, $5. They're probably 25 over there, but for free they were great.
Well, let's dive into the game. And before we do, because I have a sneaking suspicion that we're all about to see things in a very different light, or a couple of us are going to see it differently than the other couple. All right, this is the starting lineup. Drake Callender on goal. Your back four. They played a 4-3-3. DeAndre Yedlin, Tomas Aviles, Sergi Christoph, Jordi Alba. Nicolas Freire did not dress for this game. Still recovering and working his way back to 100%. Midfield three, Julian Gressel, Sergio Busquets, Diego Gomez. And then up top, you had Leo Messi on the right, Robert Taylor on the left, Luis Suarez at the number 9 position. The goals came on either side of halftime. Robert Taylor in the 39th minute off of a pass from who else? Messi. All right. And then the second goal, Diego Gomez off of an assist from Luis Suarez, who received a nice pass from Leo Messi. By MLS rules, Messi had 2 assists because they count secondary assists, although we all hate that here. We can all do a unified boo if you guys want. Boo. All right, just 2 of us did that. Okay, cool. But anyway, an assist for Suarez, an assist for Messi, a goal for Taylor, a goal for Gomez. Inter Miami wins 2-0. They get a clean sheet. A solid season opener. They start on a winning note. Arranque victorioso. I'm going to go to Simon. Simon, what were your overall takeaways from this victory?
In a way, it felt a little bit like those early Leagues Cup games to me. From the first point, the way that Real Salt Lake approached the game was a little bit more like the sort of timid approach we saw from, who was it, Charlotte, who played a little bit like that in the Leagues Cup. Maybe Atlanta did as well. I can't remember exactly who they were in those games. But that kind of, not wanting to overcommit, wanting to get to halftime 0-0, not really playing anything like their normal game, but being preoccupied by the fact that they were playing Miami and Messi, and being way too overcautious, I think, as they learned after the break, when they played a more progressive and attacking approach, and it worried into Miami. I think any coaches analyzing that game will look at that and say, there's things there you can hurt Miami with by going at their back line. If you get the space in midfield, which you will get, you can go at their back line and worry them. Real Salt Lake never tried to do that in the first half. On the positive side of it, I would say that, the biggest positive was Messi looked good, right? Messi, any worries about his fitness? He looked pretty fit. He's
very good, very good.
His acceleration was there. That was one thing that really stood out for me when he dropped deep to pick up the ball and go on those surging runs that he did a few of. That was good. Suarez didn't look fit to me. He didn't look as sharp as you would want to see.
He looks heavy. He looks like he's like super slow.
Somebody was saying after the game that, I wonder if he's going to play the next game because he was limping towards the end. He was limping towards the start. That was a little bit.
Yeah, that was rough.
Well, I think that's
the
way
he fatigued, though. I think he fatigued.
He had to run back a lot of times, like we've seen in all of Inter's Miami history. The forwards have to run back a lot, so I don't think he expected that, and he looked really tired. He looked really out of shape. He reminded me of the Gonzalo Higuain days when everyone was calling him fat and not in shape. That is what Luis Suarez reminded me of.
Are you calling Luis Suarez fat and out of shape, Andrea?
No, but I'm just comparing him to that stint that Higuain didn't look good. He didn't look good either. And I was on the field, and you could hear his breathing, and it was a cold night, and he was ahogado, and it was cold. What is he going to do when they play at 3 p.m.? The game's at 3 p.m. and at that time, I don't think he'll be an option that we could expect to function in a game like that hour.
So we'll get back to the collective takeaways, but we let's talk about Luis Suarez's game, because I think that's one of the bigger talking points here, right? It was his official debut, and there's some things to be critical of. That being said, and Gus hits the nail on the head here, but he still performed.
Right.
Right. He still did. Like, he got an assist late on, fine, but he got an assist. He almost scored late on if it wasn't for a fantastic kick save by Zach McMath, like practically on the goal line. And in the first half, he pulled off a lot of effective cuts off, more so to his left foot, that created some space. He just didn't get the shot off. But I mean, he gets a passing grade for me for his debut. Was it a wow performance? No, but he gets a passing grade. And when he gets more fit, more used to his teammates, more used to the style of play, I think it's only going to get better. That's just me personally. I agree that there's some concerns there in terms of how he was laboring a bit and how he was moving. But
you know what?
I think the signs are more encouraging than not.
I think we would have a different perspective of his performance if Tata would have made the right decision and just, he needed to take him out at the 60th minute mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think he could go. He can go more than 60. And if you take him out at the 60th minute mark and go in a press conference, well, it's a process for him. We want to get him 100%. Then everybody would understand, because it's pretty clear that he's not 100%. So I think Campana was ready. I mean, if you compare both of them, Campana is probably 100% right now. He probably needs games, and that's about it. So I think that could have helped him a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think when I was saying he didn't look sharp, I wasn't saying he wasn't effective. He was effective. I mean, what you saw from him that was good was the intelligence of his movement.
Yeah.
That's the big difference between players of his caliber and kind of players like, I don't know, Duncan Maguire or those kind of MLS centre forwards. It's that ability to just drop into the little spaces or know where to go, know where Messi's going. So, there's a lot of promising things there, of course, but I totally agree. He was left on the field too long when he was clearly, visibly struggling. And, that's a broader point, really, is, you were talking about the role for the younger players. And I think we did get a clue about what some of them roles is going to be. It's when Inter Miami start tiring about the 65th, 70th minute, then you're going to see those players get thrown on to provide legs. That's going to be their job in a lot of games this season. If they don't start, they're going to be coming on to carry the team through the last third of the game.
Yeah, and that's actually perfect for them. Obviously, when we're talking regular season, when it's elimination games, obviously you don't want to see that, and you hope that you have a plan where for those games, the big names are available to go for a full 90 minutes. But for young players, if you get 25 to 30 minutes every match day, I mean that's good. That's good, and they can provide a spark. They have that advantage that right. Ruiz can be aggressive defensively. Benja can be very good with the ball moving forward. Same scenario for Diego Gomez, brings a lot of intensity. So they have that available. It's a matter of getting everything together. I think for Suarez, he's not close to 100%, but he'll get there. He'll get there pretty soon. And once he's 100%, I think that's when he's going to start scoring goals in this league.
Yeah, we'll score on Wednesday.
He didn't score. Yeah,
almost scored. Almost scored.
Yeah.
I said almost.
And
that's garbage time, though.
That's garbage time.
They all count, baby. They all count.
I also agree with Simon that Inter Miami played a good first half with a lot of promise, with a lot of things, but it's what we've been talking about. Teams are gonna figure out how to play them, and a team that is not, for me, Real Salt Lake was a complete disappointment, and his coach. I don't really know how he keeps getting opportunities in this league, because how the team played on that first half was awful. Like we say in Spanish, timorato. He was awful, and that's on the coach. So I think this was an example for Inter Miami on how good they can play, like they did on that first half, but also an example of the reality that they're still not 100%. Yes, they have Messi, they have Luis Suarez, they have all these players, but they are not 100%.
They can't be 100% on the first game.
I can't keep saying this enough, but for me, the weakest link is Jordi Alba. On that second half, all the attacks from Real Salt Lake that were dangerous came from that side, from that Jordi Alba side. So that's going to be a problem for Inter Miami going into the season and going well into Champions League, Champions Cup, whatever it's called now, and all the tournaments that they have, because teams will know. And we saw it happen against a weak opponent like Real Salt Lake. It can happen with, and to the detriment of the team, with better teams like, for example, the game next week against Orlando, who are a better team than the one we saw on Wednesday. But it's promising. I think Messi, Busquets, and Luis Suarez, obviously they know each other. It's by memory. Simon was saying Luis Suarez has that. When you're an elite player like that, that's what makes you elite. Ronaldinho is fat and old right now, and he still is better than anyone in MLS except for Messi. So because his touch is there, he will never lose it. And the same thing is with Luis Suarez. And I used to say in this podcast, and I was known as the Higuain defender, because I always used to say, I don't care what people say, Higuain has to play because he was the best player on that team. So I expect Luis Suarez to get to that point where he is comfortable and he gets used to the climate and all of that, so that he can perform in the league.
Here we go. Broward Heron. It feels weird hearing Andrea praise us, even if it's a little, but then she gets mad at Salt Lake for not beating us, and the universe is right again. Exactly. Andrea, I
want to see good football.
No. Hold on. No. See,
but as Simon said, they reminded us of Atlanta, and Atlanta was horrible.
Yellow card for you. Yellow card for you.
And Charlotte was horrible. Real Salt Lake was even worse than that. They were horrible.
Listen. This is something that I think like you guys have to take into consideration, that you guys don't take into consideration, especially you, Andrea. Not every team is going to come out and try to go blow for blow with Inter Miami. Like, they're just not going to do that, right? And in the first half, Inter Miami had possession. They had some nice moments triangulating and knocking the ball around in possession, but they didn't create a whole lot. It wasn't like Zach McMath was, being called upon to make save after save after save. Inter Miami had some half chances here, some chances that went wide, that, got some people out of their seats in the stadium. But they didn't create an awful lot. I can't remember one play in the first half. Maybe my memory's foggy, but I don't remember one play where Zach McMath had to make a fantastic save to keep Inter Miami at bay. As a matter of fact, the goal that Inter Miami scores, the ball goes through his hands. He should have saved it, and that's how they opened the scoring. So Real Salt Lake's game plan was to defend, not to throw numbers forward, and to try to keep it at zero for as long as possible. They almost got to halftime, and that would have been perfect for them based on what I was seeing, but they gave up that goal. And then now they had to push forward. And when they did push forward, then they started playing a bit better, took the sail out of Inter Miami, or took the wind out of Inter Miami's sail. I also think Inter Miami, because they're an older team or they have older players out there on the field, I think they also tired a bit. So I think that played a part in that drop-off before Inter Miami came back to life in the last 10, 15 minutes of the second half. But yeah, I can't agree with you that Real Salt Lake played terrible. Their game plan was to defend, and they did that well during the first 45.
Yeah, but
they didn't do that well.
Yeah, but when you have a game plan, and if your game plan is to defend, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't expect to have the ball every now and then. So if my first commitment is to defense, I have to know that there's another side of the game, and at some point I'm going to get the ball, and I need to know what to do. I need to let my players know what are we going to do when we have the ball. If not, then don't field strikers or any attacking players. So what's the role of the attacking players when my mentality is to play defense primarily? So what was Arango supposed to do? What was he supposed to do? Who was supposed to help him? That's where I expect a little bit more from Real Salt Lake. But I understand that's not the priority, but I expect them to, at least when they get the ball, just don't kick it away. Just as far away as possible, like you're playing in that.
You can criticize the style.
It's only the first.
You can criticize the
style. No, you're wrong. You're wrong here, Franco. I think I'm totally with Jose on this, because when you play in that, look, we've seen it with Mourinho teams who park the bus, right? All the various different Mourinho teams defended, go there defending. They play for the 0-0 score or whatever, but when they got a chance to counter, they countered, right? Whereas Real Salt Lake, we saw it. In fact, that me and Jose sat next to each other and turned to each other a couple of times when they had the chance to counter, and there's like two of their midfielders are just slowly jogging like 10 yards forward rather than going and supporting Arango or Gomez, wasn't it, the Colombian winger on the right, who was that all right? Gomez? Was it the right winger? Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about
who wasted a couple of good opportunities and open spaces out there. But there was only him supporting Arango. The midfield never got up to support him. That's not playing defensive counter-attacking football. That's just showing a total lack of ambition.
Yeah, and they in the second half, they showed that they can actually do something with the ball.
Yeah, they're
So
not a bad team.
I know that Inter Miami slowed down a little bit and they gave the ball away, especially early on. That probably gave them some confidence as they move forward. And of course, they were down a goal, so they needed to move forward a little bit at least. But in the first half, just a little bit of a concept, just to allowing us to figure out exactly what they need to do. If they're going to go for long balls, have an idea of where you're going to place them. But they were never able to do, a lot with the ball. And it felt like they didn't even want to try. And that's why it was a little bit frustrating, at least for me. I'm expecting from the first game of the season, of course, intensity. It's your first game. You're playing against Messi. Everybody's watching because it's the only game on TV. Well, streaming.
You know what? Look,
I'll say this. Real Salt Lake, they need to show a little bit more.
Jose, again, you can be critical of the style of play from an aesthetic standpoint, but from a production, they almost got to halftime at 0-0, and Inter Miami didn't create a whole lot. Look, I think this picture and this moment encapsulates the first half and what RSL was trying to do. That free kick that Messi had at the end of the first half, where literally RSL throws almost all of its field players into not only the 18-yard box, but almost at the 6-yard box with two men at each post, so that they were so worried about Inter Miami's attack, especially Messi, that they were so focused on defending. That was their plan. It wasn't to attack. I understand that maybe there's some disconnect there. Like Luis Lopez here says, I agree, but Chicho wanted to attack. You can see him get angry when no one would make runs into the box. Yes, you saw one moment where he got very frustrated that nobody was accompanying them on their counter attack. So there you could, if you're an RSL observer or a reporter that covers RSL, you could say, all right, maybe there was a disconnect there. Maybe they should have attacked more, or maybe the game plan should have been more clear for Arango. Whatever the case is, their plan was to defend. That's clear. And they almost got away with it into halftime. And then the second half, it could have been a different game. But the ball didn't roll in their favor. Zach Matt didn't make the save he needed to make. And that helped Inter Miami set the tone in the second half, although, again, they did fall off a bit, and RSL started pushing numbers forward a bit more. I agree that you could see a different team attack Inter Miami, but RSL, they didn't go for that game plan, and it almost worked. Anyway, all right.
Just on this point, though, I mean, as a neutral watching it, as a journalist who is going to be watching a lot of Inter Miami games, I want to see teams come, and if they're going to defend and play defensively, then do it in a tenacious fashion and defend really well, and then counter effectively. I want to see Inter Miami pushed. I don't think it's not good for MLS. It's not good for neutrals, and it's not good for Inter Miami fans either. If teams come and play this half-hearted, no, it's not.
It's true, but it's true. It was the first game of the season.
Real Salt Lake's MO does not have to be let's entertain the fans today while we play away from home against.
No, I'm not talking about entertaining the fans. I'm talking about being effective.
Just having a plan.
I want to see Inter Miami pushed.
Where did Pablo Mastroeni play? What position did he play when he was in his playing career? He was a defensive midfielder. Yeah. And he sometimes played in the defense. So his MO could be to be defensive. That could be where his focus is. Just like we saw.
So how about the second half? What happened in the second half? Why were they able to attack in the second half?
They had to attack because they were obligated to attack. They had to take more risks because they're losing.
They could have done that since the first half and given us a more entertaining match. Inter Miami was playing alone.
Their job is not to entertain. Their job is not to entertain. Put an entertainment.
Franco, Nashville played very defensively against Inter Miami, right? And they did it really, really well. That's what we're talking about.
Different team with different players. Yeah,
but they did it well. That's the point.
We're talking about the concept. The concept is we're talking about.
It almost got to. Okay, give me a play. Give me a play in the first half that Inter Miami was so dangerous on that RSL.
No, listen. I get what you're saying. I get that they did a good job defensively. Fine. What we're talking about is about the other side. What are we going to do
But they didn't want to. They didn't want to take those risks. They didn't want to take those.
But what we're saying is that you can't evaluate Inter Miami. We liked how they played that first half, but the opposition was not in a great level. So we cannot say like this is going to be Inter Miami against every team in MLS.
I'm not saying that. I'm just going off of this game. And what I saw in the first half was RSL that was playing a smart tactical game and an Inter Miami team that had the ball, did well in possession, but had trouble breaking down the opposition.
I'm sure we're going to have plenty of games to compare this performance to. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to come to Chase Stadium and they're going to have a defensive mindset. But I'm sure they're going to play a lot better offensively, even if they only care about not getting scored on in the first half. I'm sure there's a better way to do it.
Also, that's what made players relax, and that's why Inter Miami came out of the break like chill. Like, okay, this team is not going to do anything. They're not going to be dangerous. And Real Salt Lake came with a different attitude and the game changed. So this can also hurt Inter Miami because we saw day and night with the first half and second half because players obviously saw what Real Salt Lake were doing.
Shouldn't be an excuse, though. That shouldn't be an excuse.
We don't know. We don't need to give 100% to win this game.
Yeah, so but that would be something to criticize Tata for.
Dangerous.
Because you can't allow that to happen.
That happened. And that happened. That's the truth.
Well, Messi looked really good in this one, right? Messi looked really good. He picked up the ball.
Yeah, he's good
like Simon
physically.
Said, he held players off that were all over his shoulders. He played a lot of good passes. The first 10 minutes weren't his best, but after that, he settled in. Of course, he has the highlight reel moment. This might be unprecedented in his legendary career, where he chipped the ball over an injured and fallen RSL player. If you haven't seen it, you have to have seen it by now. But if you haven't, go Google it. Go find that image because it's fantastic. This was Robert Taylor's reaction about that play when I asked him.
Someone do that? Chip the ball over a fallen player and then get shot up?
I wasn't trying. I completely did that.
All smiles. Robert Taylor, all smiles. That's where every other Inter Miami player that was asked about that moment. So Messi looked good. We're all in agreement with that. Gets an assist, 2 by MLS rules. All right. Who else stood out to you guys in this game from an Inter Miami standpoint for a good reason? Well, we will start with Andrea. Who did you like in this one?
I really liked, in that first half, I really liked Robert Taylor. I think he looked sharp. He looked in sync with Messi and with all the players in midfield. Actually, he communicates well with Luis Suarez. I guess Luis Suarez has that advantage, like he speaks English, so he can communicate with Robert Taylor, right? And I really liked him. And then in the second half, when Drake Callender was tested, I liked that he gave us another good save, and he needs to keep it up, to be there when Inter Miami gets called on. So I think he had a good game. I also like
only one, Andrea. Because if you give us 2, then there's gonna be not enough for
Simon. Well, of course you said besides Messi, right? So I would say Robert Taylor and I'm gonna leave the other player to Jose and Simon because I know who.
No, I kind of agree with you actually. I think Robert Taylor was that player that provided a spark. Now I'll say this. I think Robert Taylor can do a lot more for this team if he gets a lot of room through the wings. Whether he plays on the left or on the right. I would rather have him on the right, but we've seen him. He can be effective on the left side as well. I want him through the wings. His
goal came from the right side.
Right, yeah, but he cut in. He was in the middle and then cut into the right side, and he shot across the goalkeeper. But and obviously, the goal doesn't do a lot for me because that's a huge mistake from the goalkeeper. That's a horrible mistake. So I'm not talking necessarily about the goal, but about the spark that he provides. And I think if last year, he talked about, okay, so Messi's going to grab a lot of attention and I'm going to get a lot of room to work with. Well, look out, because this year with Messi and Suarez, Robert Taylor, he's going to have a lot of space. Really needs to go on a good run.
And I think he's
capable. He's capable of scoring plenty of goals in this league.
Facundo Farias, who's obviously injured, must be, cursing his luck because that probably would have been his starting position.
And by the way, I was the only one in this pod that had him starting the game against Real Salt Lake.
I don't know if you want us to like give you a round of
Ooh.
applause.
You got the starting 11, Jose, right? You were the one that got it right.
Okay, there you
Simon,
go.
give me another player that you liked in this one. Don't say Robert Taylor. We've got 2 Robert Taylors already.
Diego Gomez. I liked him. Yeah. I mean, this he's still a work in progress. It's not, you're not going to go away from that game and say he was immaculate in everything he did. But I like his aggression. I like his commitment, and he's got the skills as well to play that role. I think
he
needs.
Took his goal well.
Yeah, and I like it. I like that kid. I think he's got a lot of promises. There's a lot of work needs to go into him to turn him into. I mean, he wants to be a player who goes to Europe, right? He said that on day one when he walked in the building. So looking at him from that perspective, there's a lot of work still to do, but he's making a really good start to it, I think. And I think that midfield needs a player like that because Busquets doesn't get around the field and looks like getting around the field even less this season. If pre-season and the first game of the season are any indication. So Gomez is vital to have somebody buzzing around like that, and he can play. I like him.
He definitely buzzes around a lot, and he's got some skill with him with the ball at his feet. Obviously, again, the finish, crossbody finish to the left post. There was no Zach McMath through the butterfingers there. It was a good finish. Shortly after that, you can see he's beaming with confidence. He nutmegs a player down the left as he surges forward on the dribble. He looked more explosive as the game wore on. I have questions about him defensively sometimes. He gets dribbled by a little too easily, a little bit almost like a traffic cone. Happened at least on a couple of times in that first half. So something he's got to work on, but he is young. Gressel didn't have a good game. Gressel did not have a good game.
No.
For me, another player that I think deserves mentioning, and I know Jose was very critical of him, if I'm not mistaken, and that's Thomas Aviles. Thomas Aviles, I thought, had a good game in this one. He broke a lot of things up back there. Looked the part, came through with some big tackles. I mean, look, again, Inter Miami defensively didn't have a whole lot to do in this one. The only time they had some breakdowns.
A moment that even though he didn't have those stellar moments. For me, I saw Aviles. I like him. I think he has potential, but for me, he's too green still. For me, it's clear.
He could be great. I'm saying in this game,
I thought he was Sergio Cristo.
It's crazy that you're highlighting a defensive player for Inter Miami. Just a few seconds ago,
didn't shoot one
you
time.
said that Real Salt Lake was okay playing defense and not attacking at all. And that you didn't have a problem.
The second half, did you ignore the second half?
Forward.
Did you ignore the second half?
Highlighting Tomas.
Did you ignore the second half? During 25 minutes of the second half, did Salt Lake not have the ball? Did Salt Lake not pin Inter Miami back? Did Inter Miami not have to make defensive plays?
Shocking. It's just shocking to me.
He won his matchups. Thomas Aviles had a good game. And look, when you get a clean sheet, absolutely. That means you did your part defensively as well. So Thomas Aviles for sure. I agree with you guys. Maybe Tata should have made the sub for Luis Suarez earlier. I even tweeted that out. But by and large, Inter Miami on a whole gets a very passing grade on this one. Now, we'll leave it there for this game. Let's preview this weekend's game. They play again on Sunday against the LA Galaxy in City of Angels. Inter Miami's first official road game of the MLS season. This will be the LA Galaxy's first game, of course. Inter Miami second. They travel, I think, tomorrow, or they travel today?
No,
I can't.
They are on their way right now.
They're on the way now. And I guess they'll train tomorrow and then game on Sunday. It's Sunday night for us East Coasters. So we'll be up a little bit later than usual. I don't think we'll do anything post-game, but maybe I'll convince one of these guys to do so. Probably not. All right, so Inter Miami plays again for the second time in 5 days. Equipo que gana no se toca, Jose, or will we see changes just because of the quick turnaround and obviously some of the aging legs in the team? Tata Martino was asked about this today, actually. So,
yeah, well, yeah, I think it goes with the same starting 11. Although I have my doubts about Busquets because Tata said that yesterday.
I don't think he's playing. Yeah, he said
he didn't
train.
He did gym work, and this morning he was not out there. So I would have my doubts, but I'm leaning towards he probably puts out their same starting 11. My only doubt would be Busi. That would be it.
So that's not my only doubt. My other doubt would be Thomas Aviles, who left the game like Busquets did, was subbed out in that second half against Real Salt Lake. Aviles, if he can't go, I think, well, Nicolas Freire is traveling. Also a question mark. That they didn't say whether he would dress, play, or just travel. He said, he left all three possibilities open. But I imagine
you forgot about Noah Allen, though.
No. So
you had a lesson this morning.
So I imagine
you had a lesson this morning.
I imagine if Freire is traveling, that Freire will be playing. So I think Freire starts. I think that might be the only change.
But he can't play 90.
He can't play 90.
He actually told you that.
Noah Allen's going to have to come in at some point because Noah Allen right now is the fourth center back on the depth chart ahead of Ryan Sailor. I can't imagine how Ryan Sailor is feeling.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Poor Ryan Sailor.
But from a tactical standpoint, and we talked about this last year, with the way Tata wants to play. Hey, listen, with the way Tata wants to play, he wants technical players. Ryan Sailor's not the most technical player. Noah Allen has a better foot in that regard, tiene un mejor pie. So I understand what Tata Martino's rationale is. This is what Tata Martino said about Noah Allen. Before we dive into the game,
listen to this, Simon. This
was an exchange, a good exchange I had with Tata Martino about why.
Shocker.
He's been playing Noah Allen at center back, so much, in preseason and obviously in this game against Real Salt Lake.
No, sí es central. Bueno, él es un central que nosotros lo utilizamos de lateral y que en toda la gira jugó como central izquierdo en línea de 5. No, pero hay que protegerlo justamente con gente alta alrededor, con una línea de 3. Lisandro Martínez no tiene altura y juega en el Manchester United. Es rápido, tiene buena pierna zurda, tiene buen 1 contra 1, lee muy bien el partido, tiene anticipo. La verdad que es un jugador, es un chico muy capaz y es un chico que está siempre...
We can leave it there, but yeah, he gave all these reasons for why he thinks Noah Allen's a center back.
Yeah. He kind of schooled you there a little bit.
No, hey, that's fine. I'm just looking for the answers, but I'm looking for him to explain himself. I don't. Hey, listen,
no. Good question, good answer. Yeah.
Whether we agree or disagree, whether the general public agrees or disagree, I just wanted to get his thought process. The only question that I did not ask him that I wish I would have asked him is, well, do you see him as a center back more than a left back right now because of necessity for the style you guys want to play, or are there deficiencies in his game as a fullback that you don't rate him as a fullback, right? Maybe Tata Martino is of the train of thought of Jose Armando and Andrea Llanes that Noah Allen doesn't have the defensive chops to be a left fullback. Whether we agree or disagree, maybe that's one of his, that could be one of his thought processes. The other thought process,
because he's putting him as a center back, and we want him as a
defending centrally. Defending centrally is not the same as defending as a left back, right? Especially when you have to move forward and track back. Maybe, again, I don't know. That's the one question I did not ask him. Maybe he doesn't see Noah Allen as being defensively strong enough to be the left back that they want in this system. But he sees more qualities in him to be a center back here. Despite his lack of height, despite his aerial ability, they like other characteristics.
I think it's because they had to trade every other center back. They trade
it could be at a
and they trade Kamal Miller, and they don't have anyone else. So that they're not gonna sacrifice Franco Neri. They're not gonna sacrifice Jordi Alba. They sacrifice the young player.
I'll tell you what.
If I got the Spanish right, there he was saying that he could operate comfortably in a line of 3 or in a back 5, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which that suggests that, you don't, if you're playing that system, you don't necessarily need 3 big 6'5" guys.
Which is why you said you gotta surround him with taller guys.
Right. Yeah. So I was surprised with him during the preseason. I thought in some of those games he did okay there. And I never imagined seeing him in the central defense. He looks way too small. But it was interesting.
He played there last year. He played there some last year under Tata when Tata started doing. That's when we first noticed that he was ahead of Christopher McVeigh and Ryan Saylor in the depth chart. So
I mean, he
again,
brings a bit of extra pace there, right? There's not a lot of pace in that defense.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
Yeah.
Aviles is not bad. Aviles
No.
can be quick. But the bottom line for me is if I'm Noah Allen's agent, I'm concerned
Yeah.
because
sure,
this
absolutely.
is something that applies to Tata, but most likely it's not going to apply to the rest of the coaches in MLS. At least it's not an ideal scenario for him being a center back, and I don't see him making a career as a center back.
Right.
So
right. even though he used the example Tata Martino of Lisandro in Manchester United.
yeah,
but,
no, I mean there's a huge gap there.
Yeah.
But it's a similar scenario to me with McVay when he played as a left back for a while with Inter for a season actually, and I always thought that's not good. He's going to be exposed there for most of the time. Well, I don't know if that's exactly the case for Noah Allen in Inter Miami right now as a center back, but I don't think it's a good scenario for him in the long term.
Well, let's just go back to the game against the LA Galaxy. Because I guess Noah Allen is a candidate or a potential candidate to start if neither Fede or Aviles can start from the get-go. I mean, again, he played in left center back in this game in the back four when Aviles had to come out. So possibility that he starts, possibility. But what other changes? Any other changes, Simon, that you think could be in the cards? We talked about Allen or Freire coming in at center back if Aviles can't go. And we've talked about Busquets maybe coming out. Any other change? Expect to see Suarez back in there, or do you think?
Well, that's the other question, isn't it? Does he rotate Campana in for this game to give Suarez a little bit longer to recover from Wednesday? That's the question. We'll learn a little bit about how that dynamic's going to go, whether he plays or not, because that's an interesting one.
If that happens,
what do you think? What do you think? What do you guys think? Quickly, let's start with Jose. Who starts, Campana or Suarez?
No, I think Suarez starts, but if he doesn't, I feel like we're going to get in a role in which every single game, before every single game, we're questioning: is he playing? Is he not playing? That's going to be tiring for the entire season.
It's the Joseph and Campana debate that we had endlessly last year.
Yeah, but I think it plays.
Campana or Suarez? Who starts on? I'm not saying who you would start. I'm saying who does Tata start.
Suarez. If
Simon?
it's 100%, yes, Suarez.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I agree. I think Tata's the type of guy that likes to stick with the starting lineup as much as he possibly can, and it's still early in the season, so I think Luis Suarez gets the start, even though he might be not at 100% or a bit fatigued after.
So who comes in for Busquets in midfield then?
If Busquets is out, David Ruiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, David. I guess David would have to come in, but David didn't train today, so
I would say Mota.
But
Mota's a good shout. Mota's a good shout.
I say Mota gets.
If
David was not there this morning, and he might not be available, but So
Mota's a good shout. I take it back. I would say Mota. Mota's a good shout. Absolutely. See, there you go. You answered your own question from earlier. Where's Mota fit into all of this in situations like this?
That's if Boosie. You listen. You don't want to be in this team. The worst thing that can happen to you is if you're Messi's backup, Boosie's backup, Drake Calendar's backup. Those are three spots that you don't want to be a backup for.
more anyone.
No. If you're the backup of the Cuatro Fantásticos,
Messi, because Busquets. For me, it's more than if you're the backup of Busquets and Jordi Alba, because Messi and Luis Suarez can still go to the national team, so they are gonna lose at least in this period from March to June. They're gonna lose at least 6 games. So if you're a player that is backup for them, at least you have that shot. But if you're backup for Busquets, that is already retired from the national team, and Jordi Alba, who's also retired, unless they get injured, you're not going to play.
That's a good point. Good point. You don't want to be a backup anywhere, but especially not behind those guys.
And Drake also, because if they had another goalkeeper, then I would think, Drake can feel threatened, but CJ Dos Santos has just played one professional game in his entire career in MLS. So
all right, let's quickly, because we're getting close to that 1 hour and 10 mark that I promised we would hit. So we're 10 minutes away. All right, does Inter Miami win on the road against the LA Galaxy? We will start with Simon. It's prediction time. You avoided the season prediction pod, so you were starting with you, Simon. Does Inter Miami pick up its first road win in its first road game of 2024?
Well, I give you my season prediction in private at the stadium, right? So
that
I
doesn't
missed it.
count.
So.
You got to put it in your hands.
Okay, well, I'll put it on the record. I think Miami wins MLS Cup. I think Miami wins MLS Cup. I don't think they win anything else.
I'm with you again.
Yeah.
All right. So now for Sunday, does Inter Miami get its first
Sunday?
win?
We don't really know what to expect from this version of LA Galaxy. It's quite, they've made a few changes. They were not good at all last season, but they've moved out some players that they needed to move out. Diego Costa has gone, who I think was like a pretty dreadful DP for them, really. And they've brought in Gabriel Pets, who's a younger version, right? A Brazilian winger, but one who's got legs and speed and wants to do something. I like those kind of DP players in MLS because he's a player who clearly is coming in. I think he's 23. So he's a player who's coming in and really wants to go somewhere in his career and sees MLS as a stepping stone. So those kind of players, they're kind of following the Miguel Almiron path, So he's going to be dangerous. I'm curious to see him. Different environment, away from home, 4 days after a season opener. I think it's going to be tough. And I would say Inter Miami leaves there with a point.
Jose, win, draw, or loss?
I agree with Simon. I think 1-1.
Andrea?
I also agree. I don't think LA Galaxy is dangerous enough or too cohesive enough still because they haven't played a lot of preseason games. So I don't think they'll be able to beat Inter Miami. But since the traveling and the dates and the aging players that Inter Miami has, I think it's going to be complicated. So I think they tie.
Joseph Paintsil is available, the Ghanaian attacker that the LA Galaxy signed. He is available for this game. Not sure if he'll start or not, but he is available, and certainly a player that can make an impact, especially against a defense that still has question marks around it. So I don't see Inter Miami winning this game. I can see a draw. I can see a loss. I know I'm pulling a Steve Brenner there and riding the fence. If I had to bet, I want to say draw. So that makes another unanimous decision through the four of us. You know what? We talk about Messi, Suarez, Busquets, and Jordi Alba as the Fantastic Four, los Cuatro Fantásticos. We are the Fantastic Four y los Cuatro Fantásticos of Miami Total Football Radio. So there we go. We all agree on that one. It's going to be an interesting game. Away from home. I know, Jose, you and I have talked about the Santa Martino want to use that back five away from home, whether they're maybe not going to be on the ball as much, or will he stick with the back four? I mean, let's do that really quickly as well. Back four or back five? What do you think? There's question marks at the back.
No, I think back four. I think the back five comes in when Messi's not available. I think that's where it's going to change. But I think back four for this game. Look, I think, Inter Miami is still in preseason, and I think Tata is more than anything else thinking about Nashville, even though he said this morning that he's still not there yet. That and I'm obviously talking about Champions Cup. I think that's the most important game early on in the season, and he wants to have this team ready for that game. So I think he's going to play that series against Nashville.
This is why the show ends up being over an hour and 10 minutes. I just asked you about a back four and a back five, and you went on some tangent.
No, but I mean, it's related. It's related. That's the reason why they're going to play the four-man backline, and he'll do it again with Orlando.
Mr. Spider Pig, Messi's bodyguard as the center back.
He has the build, though.
They're going to play back four because I don't think they have enough.
They don't have enough. I was going to say they don't have enough personnel to play a back five unless
they want to put Yedlin at center back like they did in preseason at a certain point. They put Gressel on the right.
I don't like that Tata is doing that. Tata, like every coach in this team, when he comes into this league, every coach when they come into this league, they begin changing players because I guess the rosters are so limited. They don't have the amount of players that they want to have, and Tata is starting to look like Phil, changing everyone's position.
No, that's a low blow. It's a low blow.
I don't. Again, he said today. Let's listen to what he said really quickly before we wrap up. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of changes. One or two tops if the recovery or the injuries mandate that. Otherwise, if everyone's healthy and ready to go, I think it's the same starting lineup. But if there needs to be a change or two, then
Sí, como te digo, no habría ningún motivo para cambiar si no fuese que tenemos que evaluar haber jugado hace 3 días. Entonces hay que ser prudente. Pero sí hay chances de que esto pueda pasar.
Tata is like Chespirito, that character that says, ¿para qué le digo que no? Sí, sí, because first he says, why are we need to change? It's the beginning of the season, but then again, we played 3 days ago, so it can be possible. So it's yes or no, yes or no, yes or no.
He's not going to tell you. He's not going to tell you what his starting lineup is, Andrea. Like, it's not going to.
I don't like this here in MLS because usually, well, I don't know. I like coaches.
Not usually. There's only a few coaches that will do that ahead of time. But anyway, all right.
When you have a starting lineup defined, you can do it. Like at least you know how the team is going to play.
At any level, coaches here, if you win a game, they might change for the next one just because they think players are getting tired, and that's a new tendency now. It doesn't happen at any level in the States.
LA Galaxy, the best club in the world, in the comment section says Simon Evans looks like he supports Leeds United. All right, Simon.
No.
Don't insult him like that.
We have 4 minutes left. I wanted you to do this last time that we had you on, and I completely spaced. It was just you and I. Now, with the 4 of us, is your chance. Plug your Burnley podcast, my friend. Plug it for any Burnley fans that might be listening or anybody that might want to hear your English accent and knowledge and history on a different topic somewhere else.
The podcast is called From the Be-All End, the Be-All End. And the Be-All End was the open terrace behind the goal at Burnley, which hasn't been there for 25 years. But that's where the 4 of us on that podcast all grew up, standing on that open end, standing in the rain in crowds of 7,000 or 8,000 when we were in the 4th division during the dark years. And so we bring that kind of perspective of jaundiced, jaded, 50-something year-old Burnley fans to it. So yeah, no, it's an interesting pod if you're into Burnley. Why you would be into Burnley this season with them
or any season?
Well, no, 101
last
points in the
was
championship.
Good, though.
101 points in the championship last year, but yeah, one of the worst Premier League teams for a good while this season. So, but it's a challenge. Twice a week to produce a podcast about a team that loses every week is a challenge. But we're sticking with it.
We've been there. We've been there through the dark days of coming through Miami. All right. Well, there we go. We will leave it there. No final thoughts. We're doing the show in 1 hour and 10 minutes. It's on a Friday night. I might still have time to go out tonight. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to be juicioso. I'm going to clean my apartment. It's overdue.
Who believes Franco? No one.
Okay, I'm gonna send you guys pictures in our WhatsApp.
9:30 on a Friday night. You're heading to Mickey Burns for a quick.
No, I wish I'd meet you there. All right. Well, we'll leave it there for now. For Jose Armando, for Andrea Llanes, for Simon Evans, I am Franco Panizo. You have been listening to Miami Total Football Radio. I had to pause there to make sure I switch from English to Spanish. If you haven't, leave a review, a like, a share, a subscribe. Whichever platform you're on, it helps us out tremendously. We will be back again next week at some point. Haven't figured out the date yet. Don't know which of us 4 will be back, but some of us, if not all of us, will be back. But enjoy your weekends. Enjoy the rest of your Friday nights. And we will talk to you guys next week.